Hi there, I'm Kathleen Warshawski, and you are at Seniors Blue Book University, SBB University, our continuing education webinar seminars. Today we're going to talk about helping seniors to thrive in a memory care setting during a pandemic, and we have partnered with the Preston at the Park Cities to do so. So thank you for that. Seniors Blue Book is the only comprehensive resource guide in the Dallas area. And I encourage each of you to let me know if you need print or digital copies, and to be generous with them, hand them out to those who need those resources. I'm going to have Melissa with the Preston at the Park Cities tell us a little bit about their beautiful community.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my first time to do something like this, so it's probably a lot of our first time to do something like this, but thank you, Kathleen, and thank you to all of y'all for taking time to share in on this call. KO is working on getting on the call currently, but as Kathleen said, my name is Melissa. I'm the Director of Sales here at the Preston. I have been here since the doors opened back in June of 2018, and since then the community has gone through a name change, and now we are going through the COVID. So I wonder what happens next year. We'll see. But I'm really excited to share the topic that we're talking about today. And I told this to Kathleen yesterday. My favorite thing in this building to share with families is our memory care. Prior to working at this community, I'd only worked in independent living. And when I walked through the doors at this building, the thing that struck me and the thing that I'm really passionate about and excited about when I share or when I meet with families is just how independent this building feels to be assisted living and memory care. And so along with that, the dining that we provide here, both in assisted living and memory care, Kyle will share with later, but it's really an experience. I brought my family to have Thanksgiving here one year because I knew it was going to be fantastic, and it was. Memory care, again, I think sometimes memory care to many families can be very scary and can feel like it's maybe the end, and many families go through the grief of their family member while they're still with us because the person that they've known is no longer that person, and they're now and their role to that family member has now shifted from the wife or the daughter to now the caretaker. What I love so much about our memory care is how I feel like they are given the most the best opportunity to really be the person that they once were. I love that we incorporate the memory care residents into the overall programming, dining, activities of the community. I just think it's really, really special. And so my third favorite thing about this community, I'm going backwards from who's going to be talking in the presentation, but my third favorite thing is really the commitment and the accountability that I feel like KO and the leadership have with our families, especially during this time when a lot of families feel like they've lost control and they've lost touch of what the care looks like for their families. Having someone like KO, who again is just consistently communicating with families. I've seen that prior to COVID, but definitely seen that during COVID. So it's coincidental that my three favorite things about the building is really who's being featured to talk about it today. So with that, Kathleen, I may have gone over my time on 2 minutes, but
You're just fine. Thank you so much. I want to talk a little bit about our learning goals today. By the end of the program, we want to make sure that you can understand the challenges of keeping families and residents connected in memory care, be able to describe how isolation affects residents with Alzheimer's and dementia, identify the connection between physical and mental well-being with the hospitality and dining experience. To receive your educational contact hours, you have to register and attend for the entire webinar presentation. There'll be an evaluation tool at the end as well, and you do need to complete that. It needs to be completed by the end of the day tomorrow, or you will not get continuing education credit for the presentation today. If for some reason it doesn't just pop up on your screen like it's supposed to, please email me today. I'll email you the link so that you can go ahead and complete that, and you will receive 1 contact hour for today's event. Certificates will be emailed to you, and they'll be emailed in approximately 1 to 2 weeks. There are no conflicts of interest that have been reported for today's event, and there has been no financial sponsorship or commercial support for today's event. So I want to talk to you a little bit about our speakers today. So we have Keo Velasquez. He is the Executive Director over at the Preston of the Park Cities. And Keo was born and raised on the Big Island of Hawaii. After earning his degree at the University of Hawaii with an associate in applied science, he launched his career in the hospitality industry, working in the finest restaurants and winning cooking competitions, earning features in such publications as D Magazine and the Dallas Observer. As a chef, Keo has won multiple awards and has been featured on Food Network's Best Young Chefs of America. Keo most recently comes from the Four Seasons Resort and Club in Irving, Texas. After just 1.5 years at the Preston of the Park Cities, Keo is using his hospitality skills to oversee every aspect of care and accommodation of their residents as the executive director. With a motto of food as nutrition, Keo is leading their community in the pursuit of whole health in a luxury environment. Our second speaker is Sheila Mutasa, and she is the memory care director there at the Preston of the Park Cities. Sheila joins us all the way from Southern Africa, from the native country of Zimbabwe. She migrated here to the US over 21 years ago to pursue education. She has called Dallas home for the past 17 years. She completed her nursing degree in the US through the support of friends, family, and the grace of God. Nursing has been her greatest fulfilling passion next to her faith. She has practiced for almost 10 years as a nurse now, and she's grateful to serve in her new role in the arena of memory care. To quote Sheila, she says, "To me, nursing is not just a job, it is ministry. I love making the difference in all I do and being the best and last expression of love and compassion in any life that God allows me to touch." Sheila is also thankful for her husband, Peter, their 3 children, and the so many friends and church family that they have bonded with along the way. And now I'll ask that Melissa goes ahead and introduces our third speaker for us.
So Kyle Blazer, and little side note, he always wears waistcoats. So I like that his last name is Blazer and he always wears the waistcoats. So Kyle was a gift to us during the Corona. So he started, he came to us. Did you bring the Corona here, Kyle? So Kyle started with us back in March and has been an awesome addition to the team. He's our director of hospitality. The fact that we don't even have a director of dining, I think really says a lot about the food experience that we have here. So Kyle grew up in North Carolina and is part of a military family. Many of his family members have served. So thank you, Blazer family. He moved to Texas to be near once his daughter moved here. And prior to working here at the Preston, he was the food and beverage manager at the club at Four Seasons. And I think, and this is just kind of a personal bit of my opinion in regards to Kyle, but I feel like what Kyle really brings to the community is really just this sophisticated finesse at all of the food that we serve, the quality of the food, the presentation of the food. Kyle really wants it to be a fine dining experience, while also having it be, and you'll see as he shares his piece, while also keeping it very, very, very personable to our residents.
Thank you, Melissa, for that. So our first speaker is going to be the Executive Director, Caio Velasquez. He's going to review the goals of the community, how goals have shifted during the pandemic, the challenges of keeping families and residents connected, and the efforts to build the communication gap. Is Caio ready for his presentation?
He's having some technical difficulties, so maybe we can go to Sheila, and then I'll just have Caio come in here.
Okay, perfect. We will do that. Okay, so Sheila, we're going to go to Sheila's presentation. Sheila is the Director of Memory Care. She's going to go over the goals of memory care, how isolation affects residents with Alzheimer's and dementia, how to keep residents connected and engaged during isolation and quarantine, and keeping residents and staff safe while keeping them connected for care and companionship. All right, Sheila, you want to take it away? You just have to come off of mute. Let me help you with that. There you go.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for giving us this awesome opportunity. And we want to thank all the viewers and the listeners for this webinar and my colleagues that are here with me today. And I am so excited to be here. And I've been with the Preston. I came into the Preston as a nurse. When it was almost at its inception, it had just opened its doors. There were only 3 residents at the time. I came in as a floor nurse, and I've watched it grow. And 2 years later, I'm now here as the memory care director. And for the goals, if I may talk about the goals of memory care, the goals of memory care really is to we focus on improving the quality of the life of the individual with dementia, and also followed with the caregiving, with the care and support goals that we give to the resident, also to the family. And so it's a place to create a safe environment. If I can also just talk a little bit about some of the experiences I've seen taking on this role, and also I have a background of doing nursing in a memory care environment, is we are also not just catering or just caring for the health needs of the individual, the resident with the dementia, Alzheimer's, but we are also not just caregivers, but we are also educators. Because our goal, we are also educating the family. I have come across in the time that I've been serving in this role, where you're coming into contact with families. Some of them have never had an experience with memory care situation or dementia in their families. So it's like a first-time experience, and sometimes it's so hard for the families. So we are here for support. We are here for encouragement. And I always tell them, we take one step at a time. And it's always a joy to see how from the beginning, where they have no idea what dementia is all about, and they're just seeing the changes in their loved one. It could be their mom, their dad, and they're like, Mom was never like this. So my motto, what I always tell them is, we are not expecting the patient, we are not expecting the resident with dementia to come out of their world. We have to go into their world. So that's one thing that I've had to share with families, because sometimes it's difficult when you tell them, because responses to different situations, they vary from day to day from each patient, from each resident to each resident. But when I begin to tell them that you have to go into their world, don't expect them to come out of their world, that has been almost like an aha moment for most of the families. So our goals, we are caring, we are educators, we are trying to promote their quality of life and prolong it and preserve it as much as best as the resident is able to carry in their life. So some examples of how, if I can talk about how isolation has affected the residents, especially during this difficult time of the pandemic. It has really been a trying moment, both for the residents, the staff, as well as their families. So how we try and help out some of the effects that we have noticed, the effects of this isolation to a memory care resident when they don't see, or if I can just bring us to say, the understanding of the memory care, they've lost lots of pieces of the puzzles of their lives, of information of their loved ones. So the very few that they are holding on to are the family, the loved ones that come and visit them. So now being in isolation and they're not able to see their loved ones, that's so difficult. It's so hard on them. Because to them, when they don't see you, it means you are no longer, you've passed away, or you don't love them anymore. So we have these conversations ongoing, and we're talking of maybe sometimes it's just sundowning. They're looking for their children, and we have to find therapeutic ways of communicating and never getting tired of communicating, because we have to get into their world. It's their reality at that point. So it has been really a challenge with our residents. We have seen a lot of different challenges. Some, their eating habits change, even their cognitive level is declined because of the isolation. So these are the negative effects that we have experienced, that we are still dealing with during this pandemic. So, it's really hard. It affects even their appetite. They'll stop eating and they don't want to talk. They want to, just be closed out. It's all because they don't know how to express what they are experiencing in their environment. So we have to now, keeping the residents connected, we have to keep them connected during this time, by trying to lighten and brighten their day. And I have a few examples of things that I can share with us all on the call, of things that we have done that have brightened the day and almost made the moment feel so much like there's nothing else to deal with. For example, on July 4th, we decided to, with the help of some of our resident families, we had a banana split bar where we came in and doled up the banana split, that ice cream. I mean, we went all 9 yards, and I was kind of thinking of envisioning how I get my banana split from, from these fast food places, like from Sonic. So we really, and I mean, with the banana boats, it was amazing. Just seeing their faces just glowing made our day. To me, it just melts my heart, if anything. And because of that, so we have been doing different things just to spotlight and highlight and send a highlight in their day. It could be just sometimes a simple thing. I mean, the things we take for granted, you just don't know how valuable they can be during this pandemic. Just going out of your way, we knock on the door and say, hey, Miss So-and-so, we brought you a banana split. They're like, me? You mean you just made that for me? We are like, you are the highlight of the day. So we are honoring you. We just celebrating you. And we've also done things like, for their birthdays, we will do, just to have all the residents, also extend, we say, when you see so and so, it's their birthday, making those announcements, because if their families could come in and do those things, they would be able to do that. But because they don't see their families, so we have had to come up with different ways. We even did one time where we had a conversation with each resident and kind of have a message to their family from that resident. We took a picture with each resident with holding a postcard, like a poster board, sending it to their family. I mean, those moments, they brighten even the loved ones who are also going through the same stress of not being able to be around their loved ones. And another highlight that I did with the residents, because I was thinking with so much going on and people doing different things, and sometimes I love to learn. So I'm always looking, researching, and saying, what can we do to brighten the lives of our residents, as well as keep our families engaged and motivated and encouraged during this difficult time? I decided a few months at the onset of the pandemic here in the US, I decided to do even video recordings, which I know the families will treasure those videos, where I had one-on-one with each resident, and I would say to them, some of them, those that were still able cognitively to make a video, and say, just talk to your family like they're still sitting in front of you. What would you want to say to them? You will be amazed, because the residents we have, to me, I see them, we have got very respected people in the community. Some of them are business owners, they are educators themselves, they were teachers in their lifetime, they are professional people. And I mean, when they began to, it just took them back almost to their career days. They were so excited to do the videos. I know some of them I had to do like 10 times, but it was so much fulfilling just doing it for the family. And when the family got those videos, I know those are going to be treasured. Those are memories to keep. I mean, even when mom or dad is gone, but just having their voice on a recording, them speaking from their heart. Some of them were pronouncing blessings over their children. It was amazing. And we have done the balcony visits, where we have a building adjacent to our building. And we had almost like Romeo and Juliet experience, where we had the opening the patio. If you can see the pictures, the opening to the garage of the next door, the families came to the top of the building. We had the residents wave and stuff. And I even had one resident who in her, I think she's got like a German heritage, where they wave a little white flag when they met, and she was doing, it was amazing. Just seeing the families melting. I mean, it was emotional, but just so much joy, finding creative ways how we could, keep the momentum alive, keep the residents engaged. And you could see some of the posters that we had posters on our end. The family also encouraged them to make posters, like you see on some of the pictures, where they are holding posters and saying, we miss you. I mean, to our residents, it was like, oh my goodness. I mean, it was just a room that was an empty room that was available for us to connect to the next building with a good view, where it's not so far off, but it did wonders. Even when we would walk back with the residents, they would not stop talking about it. They were like, this was so good. Oh my goodness, I can't believe. I mean, for us, just having them say, oh my goodness, this made my day. And some of them would talk about that visit over and over, even though they'll mix up their facts, but to show how it impacted their lives, just being able to see their loved ones. So, I mean, we had also the gardening experience. We were having the gardening flourishing on our patio, where the residents would actually walk, some would help with gardening and watering the flowers, counting the tomatoes, counting the peppers. I mean, just many ways of just creatively wanting to engage, keep them engaged. So that has been a very fulfilling experience for us, even for the families, the feedback that we get from the families, even, taking advantage of technology. We've been doing, FaceTime with the families. I mean, it's just seeing how their faces brighten up when their families pop up on that screen and they're like, where are you? Why aren't you here? I mean, we just love just putting all those smiles on their faces. So that's how we've kept our residents connected and engaged during this isolation, and also keeping them safe in our staff as well. We have limited access into the building. We have done things like we have emphasized hygiene, education. Education is being a big thing for us, where we never stop learning. I mean, with this pandemic evolving, there's always something new to learn on a daily basis. So educating our staff to say, how can we safely show love and care for our residents, and also keeping ourselves safe as well as our residents, where we have to wear masks. I mean, a lot of things has had to be, we have never been this way before. But I can tell you, it has been a learning experience for us all. Our residents, they may not understand much, but they've noticed that something is going on. So they'll be like, we cannot wait for whatever is going on to be over. So it has quite been keeping the safety of our residents as a priority. And even I'll give an example for myself. Even when I'm off work, I limit my movements, and I even encourage the caregivers as well to say, for the safety of our elderly population, we have to be thinking of their safety even when we are outside work. So we really have been experiencing also, just even for the companionship for the residents, sometimes we've had to improvise because we cannot do the group activities, but just doing one-on-one things. Sometimes it could just be sitting with a resident in their room whilst they're having their snack. You know, just giving them that personal touch, just knowing that you matter to us so much. So that's what I would say we have done to keep our residents connected and safe and engaged during this pandemic. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sheila. We really appreciate that. And I believe that Ko is now available. So I will have him go ahead and talk a little bit about how to help families stay connected.
Karen. Hi, Kathleen. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Ko?
Thanks for being patient with me with I got everything set up and connected here.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for having me on here, and thank you, Sheila, for sharing everything with us. I will say that this has been a humongous learning experience for both me and everyone in the building. You know, we transitioned to Watermark August of last year with all this enthusiasm and momentum to implement a new culture and a new marketing plan and fill the building with residents as we lease up this building. And as things started to kind of change and shift in March, the whole plan of what we were going to do and how we were going to do things really kind of went out the window. And so, as went with our family communication and with Watermark, there was a lot of things that are implementing, and family communication is one of them. And so we set up our database, and we send out, our weekly emails and communication with all the residents and the family members, as well as printed publications. But as things change, and I will say that, communication from, the city, from the Dallas County judge, and from the, the government, from the state level, all the way up to a national level, as you well know, a lot of it was conflicting as to which direction to take and where to go with it. So communication with family members was key in maintaining that. There was a lot of time spent on the phone, a lot of emails sent out, a lot of in-person meetings. And the other big part of that was keeping our residents engaged and in communication with family members. And so, as each new hurdle came forward and we had to, shut down the community's, visitation and implement stricter protocols, we had to adapt. And sometimes we would have extended notice, and other times we would have very short notice on how to implement these procedures. It might be a phone call, might be an email from the local county office. It might be a state surveyor coming in and changing things. And so adaptability and a good sense of humor went a long way with keeping us, on our toes and being able to react quickly and swiftly. I will say that Zoom calls and FaceTimes have become very routine for a lot of our residents and resident families. With our population, this is not a commonly used method of communication for a lot of them. And so we've had to do a lot of education. And even with our own staff, they have different methods in which they communicate. And so there's a lot of education that went along with our staff and working with our residents. We've gone out and we've purchased little Google Chrome bits that fit into TVs that turn them into computers so we can host Zoom calls. As Sheila mentioned, the balcony visits which was, we had a resident family member say, hey, I want to try something. I want to see if I can go to the parking garage across the way and see if I can talk to my mom that way. And it was such a success that we implemented it and we started a whole program around it. And even hosted a rooftop concert, which was a huge, huge success. We've done 2 of those now. Unfortunately, with Texas weather, it's got a little warm. So the singers start to melt if we don't do it during a certain time period. But, it's all about adaptability and flexibility. And when we hosted that rooftop concert, it was a team effort. All the managers got together and we pulled the different residents into different rooms to keep social distancing in place. Organizing it all and getting them situated. Everybody, peeked out of a balcony and watched the concert. And it just created such a sense of joy and elation for our residents to get them, included in something that they're used to doing. When we had our first staff member go positive with COVID, and this was key. It was over the weekend, and I sat down on a Sunday, and I pulled up our resident phone list, and I started about mid-morning, and I finished about 7 o'clock that night. And I went through and I called each and every family member, letting them know that we'd had our first positive staff member in the building, and we discussed their concerns. We discussed what we had in place to protect our residents and our staff members, and really gave them a chance to talk and air any of their fears. And I also was able to set up a kind of a precedent and letting them know that while I would communicate going forward, and please reach out at any time, that communications would be via email and via our family communication tool, and that if they had any specific questions, to reach out to me so that I can be efficient in communication. And they really appreciated that. They really appreciated taking the time to go out and talk to them initially, and understood the needs of the business and ensuring that operations continue to move forward smoothly. And we've had great support from family members as each new regulation comes out or direction. And I can call the family members and communicated with them. They've been very responsive. They've been very positive. We've had some family members sit and express, frustration because in reality, there is some isolation and there's a decline. We get to leave our office and go home to our house, and we may still see our families, but our residents really are, they really are kind of isolated into the rooms. Now they do get out and see each other, but for safety measures, we do really try to keep them as protected and insulated as possible. And so it's a delicate balance, maintaining the social interaction and as well as the safety measures. And as this drags on into month number 6, the reality is, how do we safely manage social and cognitive decline, along with the safety and health of our residents. Another portion of that is as a building with all of these protocols in place, census does decline. It's a challenge to maintain census in the building. Dallas in particular has some very strict regulations on new admissions, and that is something that we have had to work with on a city level and a state level, and we'll continue to work through that. And we're still trying to find what the new normal will be, because COVID's not going away, and we have to learn how to operate with it in the business and how to operate as a building and manage it. A lot of the properties I've talked to that are in the industry that I have contacts with have faced the same challenges with bringing new admissions into the building. I talked with a hospice company, and she was desperate to find placement for some of her prospects and some of her clients, because no one's accepting admissions at this time. And she was able to find a skilled unit for one of her clients, but it really was not an ideal fit. And she's like, as soon as you are able to take admissions, please let me know. We have somebody that was perfect fit for you. But she understands the difficulty facing this, and everyone's best interest is to keep the residents safe. But as an industry, we are working hard to make that transition into what it looks like to operate under the COVID reality, that it is here, it's not going away anytime soon, and we have to make changes. You know, with the staff members, you know, daily screening is a reality. They come in, they get their temperature taken. We ensure that they are able to, you know, get full access to PPE as needed. The same thing with residents as well. But I will tell you that in my experience with staff members going positive with the residents that we've had challenges with, the typical symptoms you see with COVID are not the symptoms that they all have. You know, a fever is a common one. We take everyone's temperature. Well, I can tell you that some of the staff members never had a fever. And some of the buildings I've talked to, a lot of the residents never had a fever either. So it's a very tricky, it's a very challenging virus to manage, and we work very hard. I have to say how incredibly proud I am of the team and all of their efforts to work around and shift goals. You know, when we started, it was creating a extraordinary experience with day-to-day living, and one of the things that Watermark had as a hallmark was these extraordinary outings where we would take residents that from memory care, from AL, and do things with them that you wouldn't normally think of with assisted living and memory care. And there's a big focus on that. Well, as we closed the walls and shut the doors, we had to reimagine how that was possible. And I will say that, you know, the response from the family members with this has been fantastic. Melissa, along with the rest of her staff, helped implement a best day ever program that we had rolled out, you know, here and there. And we basically went through each and every resident, and we picked the things that they love the most, and we made a best day for each resident, one resident at a time. We involved the family members. They would do drive-bys where they'd have all their signs, and we would pick their favorite foods and their favorite activities, and we'd focus on them and ensuring that their day was the most special day we could make it. And the family members' involvement was fantastic. You know, anything that, you know, in any way that they could help, they were game. We even had one family member who'd taken their resident out of the building just for fear and had them isolating at home. And so we took the best day to them, and we did a big drive-by parade for them. And we were able to bring some of the residents with us, and they waved out the window. We had masks on, and you know, the resident was incredibly touched, and of course, you know, and brought tears to her eyes. And it was incredibly touching to see how much of an impact that made. And if you look at the picture that's being shown with the two residents in the yellow chairs, so we had another resident who had a very special birthday, and so we sat two residents across from each other on a fairly large table, up against a window. And then we sat their family members on the other side of the window, and we set up a phone, and we sat and we had a beautiful kind of birthday brunch for the one resident and the family members. And they sat there and they had their brunch, you know, divided by a piece of glass, and they were able to share a really special moment, you know, with the phone. So one of the things that, you know, that really inspires me is to see all of the staff members and managers coming up with new and innovative ways, from hospitality carts, visiting each resident, to singing telegrams, to, you know, special birthday celebrations. I will say that protocols have really shifted. Our goal was to create a resort-like feel while still providing care, and we're still focused on that, with our in-room room service dining. But we've had to add a lot more clinical aspects to the way we do things, and that is, you go into a hospital and you have to put, the little boxes of gloves that are mounted to the walls. From a safety standpoint, we've added that to all of our resident rooms so that our staff can change gloves, between rooms. You implement the face masks, and everybody initially, you get some that are a little resistant and it becomes a chin strap for a while. But with constant gentle pressure, all of our staff has really, taken that, and they're now used to it, and all of our staff keeps their face masks on consistently. And we use gowns for all of our residents and staff members. And so it's been this gradual process of transitioning our mindset and how we operate and the safety protocols that go into place. There has been a big shift on safety, on hand washing. I now have sanitation stations on every floor. As many things that are touchless that can be are, we regular cleanings, and you have to manage the financial impact that comes with that. There is the reality that all of this, from the wages with our staff that are dealing with this on a day-to-day basis, to the equipment and supplies that go into this. We had to implement COVID bonuses for our staff members who are having, our frontline staff members who are, dealing with this day in and day out, and find new ways to say thank you to our staff. Our vendors have been incredibly generous donating lunches. Our family members have also donated lunches to all the staff to keep them motivated. So it's been very inspiring to see the way that people have responded and the support that we have. It's been very, for me personally, it's been very inspiring to see everyone's dedication and passion to ensuring that we maintain a sense of dignity and engagement with our residents and family members. And it motivates me to keep communication going and to really ensuring that, no one gets lost in the day-to-day shuffle. Kathleen?
Thank you for all of that. We appreciate that. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on your balcony concert and just kind of share a little bit more about how you were able to truly make that happen with the social isolating, and to help everyone to understand how you were able to position people?
Okay, sure. So we have a parking garage. It's about 18 feet away from our building. There's a little gap. And with the initial balcony visits that residents were doing, we floated the idea of an actual concert up there. And I will say that one of the important things is to really reach out to other communities and pay attention to the news going on when people are getting creative. We hear about concerts in atriums and other communities. And so we went through the building and we looked at all the apartments that faced the parking garage, and those which were vacant and those which were occupied. And so for the occupied units, of course, we set those residents up to view it. And then for our vacant units, we then, we laid out those residents who were interested in it, and we placed a resident in each apartment, ensuring that, they were by themselves, unless it was a couple, of course, or with their private duty care partner. And then each resident was brought, one by one with each manager over to each apartment, and a chair was either provided if they chose, and they were kept there. And then for those who required some assistance or monitoring, then, either a manager or a staff member would stay with them throughout the entirety of the concert. And the same thing with our balcony visits. So if we do have a balcony visit, the residents brought over there, it's all orchestrated and, scheduled, and then housekeeping does a thorough deep clean after they've left. We did have to ask permission from the building across the street. They were incredibly supportive of both the concert and any visitation. They understood the need for this type of interaction, and borrow from your neighbors and your friends and your network. One of the properties that I had talked with, they have what's called the neighborhood program. And so each manager has a neighborhood, and so it's their duty to go and talk with their group of residents, anywhere from 7 to 10 residents, and once a week, and just visit and say hi, and then report back to the family members. How's mom, how's dad doing? And so the important thing is not to try and reinvent the wheel by yourself, but to reach out to your contacts in your community and pay attention to things that other people are doing to really facilitate these things from a safe aspect and from a practical aspect.
Okay, thank you. And then something else that Melissa had shared with me, and I don't know where those photos are. Oh, here they are. She had shared with me that during non-COVID times, your memory care residents do participate in events and kind of go to other areas of the building. They don't just stay on your memory care unit. They have access to the entire building. Have you been able to do that during COVID times as well, where they have access to kind of move around a little bit, or are they pretty much confined to their rooms?
So it depends on where we are at in the building. With the virus, we go through, it's a roller coaster. We'll be honest, there's times when we have to really lock things down, and I can't tell you how many times I've put furniture away and pulled furniture back out and set it back up. One of the challenges with memory care is social distancing doesn't always apply to them, because they don't understand what that's like. And and explaining this to our residents in various states of their cognition has been challenging. A lot of them do understand it from a certain aspect. They're very respectful. Others think we've got a conspiracy theory going on right now. During non-COVID times, we definitely are integrating our memory care residents with a variety of our activities, from coming down and dining, on a specialty day to concerts and activities. During COVID times, that has proven a bit more challenging, but Sheila has done an excellent job of taking some of the residents out for walks, getting them some fresh sunshine, outside of the building. During Best Day Ever, we would take our residents down and they would do the drive-bys and get to see their family members. And we've done, some visitation, in a safe social distancing. And again, it's about being flexible. We just got communication today from the Department of Health and Human Services that all outside visitation, regardless of how much social distancing is in place, is to be discontinued. And so once again, we have to be flexible and adapt. And so, we've done the balcony visits, the Romeo and Juliet visits, and we of course included them in the concerts, the rooftop concerts. We've done a couple of those too. So the goal is to really try and keep all residents engaged in as much as possible, and get them as much sunshine and fresh air as possible, so that they don't feel like they are sequestered to their rooms.
And then during this time when everything changes every 10 minutes, how are you communicating those changes to the residents and then also to the families to ensure that the families are not feeling like the community is trying to keep them from their loved one, but it's truly, governed by the state?
Transparency is the biggest factor there. And so, I worked very, very hard to build a level of trust with the family members when it came to the different things that, that we're being told by the various agencies of government and Watermark. So quick to communicate and very transparent with the communications. And so in building that trust early on, as I send out communications either via email, blast email, or phone call, or face-to-face interactions, we're able to get the message across pretty quickly. And the managers are very good about also sharing that message with both staff and residents. The important thing is to be quick, with our family communication. And there's different systems out there. We use an email blast. Another community I work with, they do a call them all, and it goes out, sends out a mass text message. And so flexibility and availability is really the important key there. But as new things pop up, I may send out a short 2-paragraph update. Hey, this has just happened. I may send out 2 updates in a day. I've done that many times. I may get communication and I've left work for the day and I got some late emails that come through, and I'll send a communication out at 12 o'clock in the morning to all the families, just ensuring so that, while they probably aren't going to get it at that time, though some do, I will tell you, some do get it. Those, who are early risers will get it first thing in the morning, and they're aware that, there's been a change or something's different, or, we're moving forward in a different direction. And then, of course, prompt responses. I will tell you that the email battle is very, very important for me. I'm keeping my inbox to a point where I can manage all those questions coming through. So, really devoting the time to ensuring that the communication is quick and the response is fast.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If any of our attendees have more questions for KO, if you'd please go ahead and type them in the Q&A. And as soon as Kyle has done his presentation, we will be able to address additional questions. So thank you, KO, for that.
You're welcome.
Kyle, do you want to go ahead and take over from here?
Sure. So I'm, as Melissa mentioned, fairly new to the operation, but I've been in food and beverage for 21 years. It's pretty much all I've done. I recently came over from a country club setting, and you wouldn't think that the two of them would be very similar, but as KO can vouch for, since we both worked in the same club in the same community here, there are some similarities. You have a lot of personality that you deal with, as well as some unique requests and interests that you get from your residents. But it's all part of the challenge. You look forward to and are surprised sometimes when you've been in restaurants for 21 years. You think you've seen it all, and then come into work one day and you were wrong. But it's fun. It really is. And then the other thing that's very similar to that country club setting is the relationships that you build in that kind of environment. You are now operating a restaurant that is 100% regulars. There are no strangers in your restaurant. You know all of their particular interests and the way they like things. It's often that I'm sitting on the expo line and I'm marking the containers for the food to run up there, and most of it I could probably not even refer to the sheets. I could just see the order and know who it's going to, because they become creatures of habit. I mean, at the end of the day, what our responsibility is we're providing a meal. And in this pandemic, I think that it's very important to understand how important that is to the residents now more than it was prior to this pandemic, because of, as Keo mentioned, the isolation that they're going through. Some of them, this is one of the few interactions they'll have with somebody during the day. It's one of the few things that they have to look forward to during the day. They don't have some of those community events that we had prior to this pandemic. So, that's the 3 meals that they have for the day is what they have to look forward to. So to be able to deliver that not only, accurately, but also with a quality and a personalization is very, very important. Engaging with the residents and making a mealtime fun and something to look forward to is important for them, for not only their physical health, but their mental health as well. We deal with both. And it's important to have a system of checks and balances when you're operating throughout the day to make sure that everything goes smoothly, because of the importance of the meal, not only from a nutritional standpoint, but also from a mental health standpoint. Making sure that you have checklists of all the residents so that nobody gets missed, making sure that you have a list of their preferences that we put at the bottom of that resident checklist so that as you're checking off their orders, that you're making sure that it is, Marlo likes a double chopped salad with extra toppings, that Miss Borish has to have Russian dressing with every one of her salads. She doesn't like any other kind of dressing. Understanding that some of the residents go to sleep very early and they want their meals earlier than other residents. And keeping up with all of those preferences does become trying at times. It does. To be able to accommodate everything isn't impossible, but it is difficult sometimes. But we have to realize that how important these meals are to them for maintaining their health, their nutritional intake is very, very important, as well as to be isolated the way they are, to not be able to get on the phone or see a loved one takes a toll. And then if your lunch doesn't show up on time, now it's one more thing that has affected your day. So making sure that none of those mishaps happen is very important for us, while at the same time making it personal. We have a good quality food that we put out, but I think that the most important thing that we offer is the team members that we have. We have been very fortunate to have a group of very passionate young people that are working in our dining services. The things that they go out of their way to do that we're not even asking of them. Our salon has been shut down, and one of our servers, Michael, volunteers to cut some of their hair if they need it. Just because, hey, if I can do it, I'll do it for you. We've had a lot of struggles from a staffing standpoint with COVID, where we've had staff members that have tested positive or been exposed to someone, so they've been asked to stay out of the building because of that. And to see the staff pull together to get the job done, some of them sometimes working 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts because it's needed. Or other departments, we've had housekeeping, pickup shifts inside of dining room to help us run food. Everybody just kind of pitching in and doing whatever it takes to get the job done is really inspiring to see that. Also, with as far as their nutritional value, making sure that we're documenting anyone that's not eating. As she's got pointed there on the slide, we have the checklist not only for taking their orders, but when we go back in to clear everything out, did they eat everything? Sometimes this isolation or any medical issues they may have will have an effect on their appetite. And it's very important to monitor that, because if they're not eating, then it's going to cause a deterioration. So we always encourage the staff to ask questions. Is there a problem with the menu? Is it just something that they're not wanting to eat? We've had problems with portion sizes. Some felt that the portion sizes were too large and don't want to waste food. I know, as odd as that sounds, that they come from an upbringing that you don't waste food, and why are you bringing me all this food? I don't want to have to throw it away. They have problems with textures. Sometimes, if they don't have the capacity to operate a fork and knife on their own, we'll gladly chop it up for them so that they can take care of that. We obviously have mechanicals and pureed foods that we can do for them. And it's important to portray those in a pleasant manner so that it still looks appealing. The phrase that's used in culinary is ugly delicious. It may taste good, but if it doesn't look good, at first you're not going to want to try it. So making sure that we still hold on to that standard. We have also developed a few different resources of how to supply those nutrients if they're not eating. So we have hydration jellies that you can use. If somebody is showing dehydration, we have a pudding pack that we get through Ensure that has protein and calories to help with somebody that's not eating. Something as small as offering a protein shake that we use, yogurt and fresh ingredients in so that it's actually a really, really good shake. As well as we found a protein solution through Ensure as well that we then mix with gelatin to make a protein infused jello, which who doesn't like jello? And the memory care floor loves ice cream, as Sheila mentioned before. And we have Magic Cup ice cream, which is a protein ice cream as well, which are all just different ways of getting those nutrients in them if they don't want to have a big meal. We also communicate with the family members to get a list of preferences, which sometimes that information is hard to get from the resident. Talking with the resident and coming up with some favorite dishes. If it's in the kitchen and I can make it, I will make it. There's different preferences for food. You're going to have residents like Miss Wasserman. If it doesn't sound like a 4-star dinner, then she's probably not going to order it. But then, as you see up on the screen, we also have Mr. Stowell, who does not like fancy food. He wants just a hot dog or a hamburger and some pizza, which I always have those on there. So I printed out his own menu and brought it to his room and said, anytime you want this stuff, just let me know, I'll make it. You don't have to order off of our menu. This is your menu. You want that stuff, let me know, I'll take care of it. Little things like that help personalize the service. We have a hospitality cart that we implemented that every day between lunch and dinner, we will load up a cart that's decorated and take it room by room. And every day has a different theme. So Mondays is like a snack attack day. So it's got chips, cookies, popcorn, little bags of chocolates for them. On Wednesdays, we have hot pretzel day. We have Thursday is the bar cart, so that's a popular one. Mixing up cocktails for all of the residents, door by door. We have frozen yogurt Fridays, Froyo. Freshly squeezed juice bar on Saturdays, ice cream Sundays. And the staff does a great job of really selling it too. I've seen them play music off of their phones so everybody knows when the cart's coming around the corner. They'll put up little outfits and wear them around, or they'll have like little maracas or tambourines. So it becomes an actual party cart when it goes around. Other things that we've done is really making sure holidays and special events are special. I think we have a slide on there for Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. Obviously making sure the food is good. Again, it's a meal that you want to look forward to, but also making it an experience that you want to look forward to. As you can see, we've got some personalities that really make it special for everyone. Like I said, you build relationships with these people. It's not just another customer coming in and out of the door. These are the people you see every day. And giving them that special interaction really helps make, you know, a holiday better or a birthday better or something else. So for example, there you got listed Life Enrichment. We've worked well with Leah, makes really good Lebanese food. And Mr. Powers is a huge fan of Lebanese food. So we set her up with her own prep table and a crew to work with in the kitchen to put that together for him and really do a special meal. And his best friend, Hal Lindstrom, who lives right next door, obviously sat in on that meal as well. We've had anniversaries. We had Mr. and Mrs. Fox celebrated 70 years together. And just because there's a pandemic going on, we didn't want that to not get appreciated. So we set them up in a private dining room and posted pictures up on the wall of their wedding. Them, you know, dancing on the dance floor 70 years ago. And it was really, really special for them to see the interactions and the smiles on their face and to see that the love's still there after 70 years of marriage was pretty cool. Other stuff that we've done just randomly, it doesn't have to be a special occasion. It's just if you see someone's having a hard day, to go out of your way and do something special. Marco, one of our cooks, told me that he was instrumental in getting Mr. Rodriguez to join our community by cooking him an authentic Mexican meal. So every once in a while, he'll just go up to his room, knock on his door, and ask him what he wants for dinner. And if we have it in the kitchen, we'll make it. We also had a group of ladies up on the 6th floor who were just really having a bad day. They were wanting to go outside, but we couldn't get outside because of the weather, and some of them were just really missing their family. They hadn't seen them in a while. And so we randomly put together a wine and cheese tasting for them on the covered patio up there so that they could still get out of the building, properly spaced, of course, and just do something a little different, an excuse to get out of the room and have a good time. And that's what we encourage for all the staff members is don't wait for a holiday or a birthday or something of that nature. If you see somebody's having a tough day, what can I do to turn it around? And I think that's hospitality. You do what you can to give somebody a quality experience. And when you see those smiling faces at the end of the day, it's worth it. We know that we're not going to have them forever, but as long as we have them here, we want to make sure they're having a good time, because we care for them. We see them every day, and they're part of our little community here.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. We appreciate that. As a reminder, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A or in the chat. We can view them both places. And Sheila, you had made a comment in the chat to the panelists. Do you want to go ahead and share that with everyone about how the dementia residents are relating to the Spanish flu pandemic?
Yes, thank you, Kathleen. I guess over time, trying to explain why their loved ones couldn't come in, and you could tell them they'll forget the next minute. We realized that with memory care, cognitive issues, they have a recollection of their older memories. So they seemed to say it was an aha moment for them when we spoke to them regarding the Spanish flu, because most of them, they were young then, and they have recollection, they have vivid memories of that time. So we realized that when we just start saying a similar sickness, something that is very, very serious is happening again. So the government wants to keep you guys safe, keep your families safe, so families can't come in. It seemed to subside their worry. because they understand about the Spanish flu. They may not understand. Some of them, they watch the news. Some of them didn't even want to watch their televisions, because when they see them talking about the COVID-19 and all that, to them it's a lot of information for them to handle. But we found that once we said, even when their families would also tell them the same thing, that when they are talking to them like on FaceTime, that's a better way to explain. It seemed to subside their anxiety when we began to talk about the Spanish flu.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Another question that I have that maybe Keo will address for us has to do with the residents visiting each other in their apartments. So are you having, first, I don't know if it's allowed or not allowed, but if it's not allowed, how are you dealing with that? And is it an issue at all where they want to entertain in their own apartment and they understand the risks, and do they have the option to do that or not? And, you know, kind of what is that ethical piece with choice versus risk?
So, you know, this has been a good question that's gone back and forth with me and my contacts at, you know, Health and Human Services and the Dallas County Health Department, you know, and we are encouraged to keep them from visiting with each other and socializing. But, you know, we also run across the resident rights, and they have the right to see each other, and they have the right to visit with each other if they so choose. And, you know, we are required to adhere to those resident rights. And so our best, you know, defense against that is to encourage them to be safe, to socially distance, and to understand that the reality of the situation is that we cannot lock them in their rooms, and that, you know, that this is not something where they aren't allowed to see each other. We do have some residents that choose to isolate socially, and they have their, you know, their concerns, and we have others that choose not to. And we manage that as best we can. We try to use a common sense approach to it while keeping their safety in mind, and work hard to educate them and remind them, please be careful. Please be safe. Here's your mask. Please wear your mask. Not all of them do wear their masks. Not all of them understand that they need to wear their masks. But I do see the need for the social interaction and the human aspect of visiting with one another. And so, you know, it is one of those things that, you know, Health and Human Services and your Dallas County Health Department will tell you, you know, they're not supposed to interact with each other to the best of their ability. But I sat there and I had a conversation with one of them today, actually. In fact, when the new direction came in to cease all visitations, I said, I have a resident that told me that if they're going to go see their family, and I can hold them against their will, and they will call the police on me if I keep them here. And so, you know, I reached back out to my contact and said, hey, here's kind of the scenario that went down today after I communicated. And, you know, and there was a chuckle and they were like, well, you know what? I probably would be still in a similar situation after 6 months myself. So, you know, we can't stop them. That is correct. But, you know, we do ask that they self-isolate, you know, once they get back into the building. And so once again, you're stuck in this kind of this back and forth of, you know, resident safety versus, you know, the reality of what social isolation does to a person. And so you have to have a very pragmatic and common sense approach to it. You know, safety is paramount, and it's ensuring that our residents are safe and that exposure is minimized, but at what cost? And, you know, it's a daily question and a daily decision that we have to work through.
Awesome, thank you. We do have some comments in the Q&A right now from Shona Reeves. She talks about it's also hard because our residents will not keep the masks on. It scares them. And I think that Sheila has done a good job of kind of addressing that question and how she is trying to approach it with her residents. Shauna also says in her 20 plus years as an activity director, this is a challenge, as you know, and that her residents are more advanced in their memory issues, so it's hard to keep them from going room to room, but they redirect them. So thank you for sharing those with us, Shauna. We appreciate that. Does anyone else have any questions before we close? Have I missed any? All right, well, Thank you, Melissa, for helping to coordinate this. Thank you, Kao, Kyle, and Sheila for speaking to us today and helping us to understand a little bit more about how we can work with our residents in a memory care setting. It's been really educational and informative. And I think that we've addressed some ethical issues today as well. So thank you so much. I so appreciate that. And I just want to remind you all to complete your evaluation forms that should pop up on the screen. Your certificates will be emailed to you. And thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.